Hi, my name is Mamikon Hovsepyan and I work for Pink Armenia, which is the biggest and oldest LGBT organization that exists in Armenia now.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who makes videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything that they want that somehow relates to them being queer. At the end of August, I went on a trip around Armenia, Georgia and Azerbaijan, and in Yerevan, Armenia, I had the privilege of meeting up with one of the founders of Pink Armenia, the largest queer organization in the country.
I am Mamikon Hovsepyan. I am the communications director at Pink Armenia, but I am also one of the co-founders of the organization, so I work here quite a long time. Since the beginning. It's almost 16 years. We started in 2007 and we try to cover as much as possible because in the beginning we were the only functioning organization, so we had to be with the community, try to focus on different aspects, the needs of the community, but also we are growing, getting bigger and bigger, and in the country the issues are getting more and more difficult, so we have to find resources, time and capacity to deal with all the things that exist in the country.
Mamikon's relationship to his family is better than most queer people in Armenia.
I was lucky to be in a family which I wouldn't say that accept me, but at least we have good communication with my family. They don't hate me, they don't beat me, they don't throw me out of the family, and we try to coexist without harming each other. So comparing to others, I was lucky. I had everything what I needed as a child, as a young person, and then until now. So I didn't know what was the reason for me to become an activist or to start this organization, but probably the main reason was the injustice around me that I noticed, because it's not only about me, it's also about people that I love, that I care, that I see. So at some point I understood that I have to do something.
And there are more reasons why he became an activist.
Another reason probably because, again, my family was so supportive. When we talked about my sexuality, I came out as gay. They decided their way to help me. They sent me to the USA. I remember father said, well, it's probably not the best country for you to live here, so maybe you can find your peace in another place. But living in the US for around 4 months, I understood that I did nothing to have that life. I mean, I wouldn't say that the USA is kind of a safe space for LGBT people, but still, I mean, it was very different. In the early 2000s, it was really different to live here or there. But I understood that I haven't done anything for that life. That also changed my mind. I said, okay, I will go back and start doing something. Otherwise, I could blame myself all my life that I even didn't try. How could I say that it's bad here or it's good there? So I came back, I started the activism, and I feel better here. I mean, this is the place that I live. My family is here. I was born in this country, and I understood that I need to bring changes as much as I can.
So he went back to Armenia and started his activism.
So basically my activism started back then around 2002-03, when I met a group of young enthusiastic people who also wanted to change something. There was this gay and lesbian Armenian group, and we were organizing meetings, inviting some specialists, lawyers, doctors to share some information with us, to talk about health, rights and so on. Since then, something bigger was born in me to become an activist and to do all the changes that I really want to see.
Today, there are still some issues when it comes to being LGBTQIA+ in Armenia.
Discrimination is the main issue that we are facing here, because discrimination exists in every sphere: healthcare, education, family, starting from family. I mean, people cannot come out, people cannot be honest with their family members because they can be physically abused. And in Armenia, people are attached to their families, again, for so many reasons. From culture perspective probably, and from financial as well, because unemployment and financial situation and poverty in the country creates a situation that we have to live with our parents because we cannot be independent. We don't earn enough salary, we don't have our own flat, we cannot rent a place. Some people do it because they manage to find some job and they can afford to live separately. But again, imagining, for example, if your family is in Yerevan and you want to rent a separate apartment in Yerevan, that will be the whole drama. The relatives, the whole family will say like, why you are going out? You have your room, you have your place in this family, why you want to live alone? And from cultural perspective, it's kind of unacceptable and people cannot understand it. That's why in my case it was easier. I'm from Gyumri. My parents are living there, so it was like, I want to receive my higher education in Yerevan, so I'm moving to Yerevan. And there was no question regarding that. But then when my father moved to Yerevan, because his job was also here, the relatives started to ask, like, how come son and father in one city, you live separately, how come? They couldn't understand it, but at least my family could understand.
Pink Armenia has been a part of changing the society's attitude towards queer people.
Sometimes we are so much focused on daily work that we don't notice the changes, but definitely there are changes, because if we talk about progress or change, there are a lot of ups and downs. Not everything goes smoothly, especially in such a country where homophobia is quite high, homophobia, transphobia, and all kind of xenophobia. But we as an organization at least created a public discourse about LGBT plus issues, because now more or less media is talking about it, and most of the time of course we get angry when media is writing something negative or spreading misinformation. But still, even that kind of information creates discussions, because then people from different sides come together and start discussing. Someone is for, someone is against, someone is still trying to understand. So having such platforms is also very important, and spending some time to educate people individually, talk one by one, or creating some information and materials that they can read, because a lot of information about sexuality doesn't exist in Armenian language, so we create it. Of course, it's not easy to break stereotypes, but step by step we are doing it. And our recent research shows that when we did also some in-depth interviews and focus group discussions, that people were sharing their stories, how they were more homophobic previously, and now they become more open-minded because they met someone from our community, they worked with someone, they understood that people are people, doesn't matter what is their sexuality.
There's also been a small legal progress.
Still, we don't have laws that can protect the community or prevent discrimination or hate crimes, but we can now have some influence on law enforcement bodies. If 10 years ago something would happen and someone goes to police station, they could be more discriminated than now. Of course, now still it's not smooth and easy, but at least we have lawyers that can accompany the person in police station or in other institutions.
They also have good professionals that they can refer people to now.
We have friendly psychologists. It's interesting that when we talk about psychology, their function is to help people, but in Armenia we have criminal psychologists who are trying to abuse people or use conversion practices in their work. We struggle with that issue, but from other side we have bigger group of psychologists who are doing their work. I wouldn't say that supportive, or they are just doing their work. We don't need to thank anyone to do their work properly. But sometimes we also get happy that we find a doctor, for example, doctor for sexually transmitted infections or other field, who are not abusive. That's also our work, to educate them, to work with them, to cooperate and change their attitude as well.
Mamikon remembers a recent proud moment.
Last year, when we had the first judgment of European Court, and finally it was recognized that the case that happened in 2012, the firebombing of a gay-friendly place, the European Court recognized it as a hate crime, but also a bunch of recommendations, and the judgment was quite important for us because now the country should implement those recommendations and adopt several important things in legal system. So it was a proud moment that we worked on that case more than 10 years and finally we had the judgment that we wanted, but we forgot to celebrate it.
But Mamikon is also proud of getting to be a positive influence to individuals.
When people are following our work and they get so much courage and power that they decide to come out to their family or friends and they do it in a smarter way. And then they come back to us and they say that we learned this and this from you and it worked. For example, we don't have special trainings for coming out and we don't focus on that too much because we understand that we cannot provide full safety and security to the persons who come out. We don't have shelter, we cannot do a lot. But they said that no, we did a lot because we provide them a lot of resources, but we even don't understand how important it is. Or when me or other colleagues are coming out in front of cameras or talking about sexuality publicly, and we are not afraid to say that I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm lesbian, transgender, and so on. Others understand that they are not alone, and it also helps them to come out and to feel stronger and to feel the support from our side. Because I usually say that if I can make even one person to smile, to feel happy, to feel accepted, then I'm really glad that I can do it. So that's why sometimes I don't call myself a human rights defender, but I call myself a happiness defender, because that's the most important thing. If we are happy, even for a certain period of time, it means there is something good in our lives.
Finally, these are Mamikon's hopes and dreams for the future.
I really dream that we can have better laws in Armenia. I mean that also the system may work. The whole law enforcement body, the courts and everything will follow that law. Because for now, the judges or the police try to skip things, try to find solutions how to skip, how not to help the queer community when they are in trouble. But more important is the society. I want to say the country where everyone feels safer, having in mind that all the multi-layers of our community, but also the society, so that we can feel safe as queer people, as queer with disabilities, lesbian, bisexual, trans women, because women are more vulnerable in society, and so on. I mean, all these identities that we have, I wish to see that one day we are not afraid of our identities, we are not afraid of showing who we are, and we just live freely and peacefully. The peace is the most important part, because I mean the world can see what's going on in our region, the war, the situation with neighborhood countries, the attacks and everything. For marginalized groups like us, so it's not only from outside the national security thing, but also from the inside. So we are in so many ways targeted, so many ways discriminated, that it's already impossible to live like this. So we have changes and we need peace as soon as possible.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time.